Hi there. I'm going to try this again. I don't know what's happening with technology. Can you all see me on the live? If you've joined me, say hello. Yana, Kristen, can you guys see me? Let me know if you can. Okay, I'm starting to see more people. Yes, okay, good. I've got some responses. I'm so sorry about that. I'm going to start over. Sorry about that. Someone said that they couldn't see me. Yes, okay, that's fantastic. So I'm going to start over. Sorry about that. And my story is today. Why are we talking about shame and being single? Because I want to be an inspiration to you and help you understand that this is just a lifestyle. And I want to be an inspiration about my personal story and give you some hope that despite your attachment style, whether you're nervous or independent, that we can help you, that I can help you, that you can become more secure and find the life that you want. I want to thank you all. Hi, Christina. I want to thank you all for filling out my stickers. And in particular, what I want to do is help you normalize the fears that you have. And the fears are, I'll be alone forever, I'll be single forever, no one will really like me, or they'll get to know me at first, but once they really get to know me, they're going to abandon me or reject me. These are common fears and concerns that people have based upon their attachment style, that they're going to be all alone. And we got to bust these negative thoughts that you have. And Dr. Shawn, who, Shawn, go ahead and try to jump on and I'll include you. We want to go through these. So my story, hopefully, is one of inspiration for you, that I got married later in life, but I didn't know that I had an anxious attachment style. I didn't know that, because at some point we don't know when we all have blind spots. I didn't know that it was my anxious attachment style. I was the quintessential nervous Nora that was holding me back from finding love. And as a result of that, my negative attachment style, what would I do? Like the rest of you, get attached too quickly, race ahead in my thoughts, and it didn't help me be the calm, present person that I needed to be. Okay, I can see you go live, and I'm gonna hit yes. Okay, so Shawn, you should be able to jump on in a minute. I see that it's connecting. Are you there? I see your hand, Shawn. There you are.
There I am. We did it.
Yay! Oh, I'm so happy you're here. You know,
Thank
Shawn,
you.
I have to tell you, it's great because I love IG Lives where there's somebody else with me.
Yes, I know. I do too.
It's so much easier, and I love that print in your back that's got pink on it because that's my brand
Thank
color.
you.
I
Thank
love
you.
it.
My daughter painted it.
I love it. So,
Thank
Shawn,
you.
I was just
Yes.
introducing the topic, which is what we're talking about today, which is shame. And
Yes.
people use different words to describe it, like embarrassment. They feel uneasy. And I was relating this to me that because I was single for so long, I felt my own level of embarrassment, that like there was something weird about me or something wrong about me. And I don't know where I got cut off because I had to restart it. But I was telling the
Yes.
story that here I was a psychologist myself already practicing, trying to help couples. And they would all come in and say things like, "Are you married?" And I'd have to say, "No," but like do as I say, not as I do. And it was really awkward for me.
Yes.
And I wish that someone had had some things that they could tell me, some bit of advice, so that I could think about my situation differently.
Yes. Reframe it. So important.
Reframe it. That's so right.
Yes. Yes.
And also give me hope and inspiration that if I wanted to change and find a good relationship, that I could, and that it's never too late.
Right. It's so hard to make sense of everything when no one's talking and we're not getting feedback
That's
or
right.
how to think about it. Yes.
That's right. So you're going to help me today. And I just want
Yes.
to lay out for our viewers what to expect in this hour. So
Okay.
what we want to talk about is we want to talk about the attachment styles, and I brought some friends to join me. my attachment styles and talk about what fears and issues each attachment style is going to have, and then how to bust through that. What do you think?
That's right. That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
And then give some solutions at the end.
We're going to give some solutions because that's what people
want. Some shame-busting solutions.
That's right. You are the shame-busting expert. Shawn, is there anything else you want people to know about you before we get started?
Yeah, I'm a clinical psychologist. You and I are late stage in our career.
I don't like to say that.
Oh, well, we are we are leaders in our field.
We are experienced.
We are very experienced, yes, and so we're not new at this.
That's right.
After all of our 20 years plus experience, we have gathered information on what we really see as being foundational to our struggles and some solutions. And so we like to get straight to the point and really give people specific steps on what they can do.
That's right, because there's science to this. There's science to attachment theory, and there's also science to technically proven techniques that people can use to help them. And that's what we want to do here. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So, and where can people find you, Shawn?
My handle, Dr. Shawn Horn.
Perfect.
And also I have a podcast, Inspired Living Podcast, and I have a YouTube channel, Dr. Shawn Horn, over there as well.
That's fantastic. Okay, good. So let's get started. And what I want to start out with so many of the stickers in my stories, the fears that I had heard, a lot of them had to do with the anxious attachment style. And the fears and the worries, hi Melanie, were things like worries that I'll be alone forever, that I'll get hurt like I did in the last one, that I'm not going to recover from a divorce, that I'm going to choose unavailable partners. But the underneath that message was one of not being, oh, hello from the UK, not being good enough on some level.
That's right. Right. Which is shame. We're talking about shame when you don't feel good enough.
So here's Maura, because she looks like me, right? Because I am a former nervous Nora myself.
Yeah.
I want to say, how did Nora learn these negative thoughts?
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'll just give a little snippet. So the anxious person, Nora, usually grew up in a home that one or the other parent was inconsistent. So it didn't feel like anyone helped her co-regulate or calm down. She could have had anxious parents. Maybe mom or dad was there sometimes, not other. Maybe they had trouble regulating their own emotions. The parent could have also been somewhat intrusive. But the message in the family was that we should all get along and we should have this tight family. And it's not all that cool to have boundaries either. It's kind of like this weird codependency connection. And therefore, it's hard then to understand what you should or shouldn't put up with based upon this family dynamic and the message that you should actually be pretty tolerant.
And that somehow you're responsible for other people's feelings and behavior. Yes, and that's the codependent dynamic where if you're upset, it makes me upset, so I need to help you not be upset so I'm not upset.
That's right. And it's like your fault that you made me upset, right? I mean, that's
look what you did.
That's right. So then the person, now fast forward into adulthood, what are they going to look like in dating and in relationships?
Very idealistic, very wanting so much this dream relationship, and yet when it approaches them, they push away.
That's right. And be a nice girl, right? Be a nice girl, be a nice guy, don't ask for too much. Kind of like this message of being just sort of suppressing your own needs for the sake of others, right? Because that's what the family does. Everyone sort of sacrifices themselves.
Yeah, don't be needy. Yeah. Don't be needy.
But
they might not like you.
Right? But I am needy because I have needs, because I'm human. But the message is there's something wrong with that.
So confused. Yes.
So confusing. And it's like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So you're like claiming that I'm dramatic when really it's like, well, where did I get this from?
And then you go to your family for support and advice, and they give you that same message. Well, maybe you're just being too needy, or maybe if you don't, they give you strategies. How much do we hear about all these strategies of how, when you should call and not call, what you should say and not say, when you should do it, all those strategies that come from that anxious attachment.
Yeah. And so it's easy that Nora or Nick get kind of trapped in that message, right? I mean, there's like no way they can win that, because and why I call it nervous is because it's the nervous system that revs really high, because our nervous system is created 80% of it by the time we're 2 years old.
Yes.
And so people don't understand that this is just how you feel. Right? But
well, obviously, yes, if your nervous system's getting activated, you feel threatened. And you're scared. They're going to leave you, they're going to abandon you, and you're going to blow it.
That's right. So the threat is, I have these needs, but I don't know what to do with them. And the fear is just like, I'm too much, right? I'm too much, and I'm going to put that on you. So people are going to get locked in having some shame because there's a mixed message here, right?
How do I need to be so you will love me?
That's right. And it's not really clear that I can be authentic, right? So what I see, and before we get to how to bust this, what I see is that Nora gets the message that she should be someone different than who she is, especially at the start of dating. And Nora gets the message is that she should be the cool girl, and she should pretend that she doesn't have any needs, because she fears, right, in her head, she feels embarrassed of having these needs because she's conflicted. So she overdoes it to present herself as this cool, calm, and collected kind of person. But then what happens over time? Well, she can't
sustain it,
right?
Yeah, right.
And then what happens is, finally, at some point, Nora unleashes all of these needs, and her partner is like, "What the hell is this?" And they get blindsided because you didn't feel the strength or the courage to be authentic at the beginning. Because if I don't feel good enough, right, I'm not going to feel like I could dare show you who I really am. And therefore, I'm going to pretend to be someone else. And in the end, it's really going to doom my relationship because I was suppressing these needs. And then when they come out, they might come out what I call kind of the anxious angry, where it's got like an edge to it.
And isn't anxious attachment is characterized by attaching quickly?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I'm already planning our wedding before we've had dessert, right? That's right. So people absolutely, because it's kind of like I'm also addicted to it. It's like I love love, right? And I so feel that like who I am is connected to who I have. So that's why being single feels so horrible, because it doesn't feel like I'm complete, right? It feels like something's missing.
Yes. It's really when they see the circumstance and relationships as an extension of them. That's right. This becomes a problem with parenting too down the road, where they see their children extension. Yeah, we've got to bust that one.
Okay, so now you're going to give Nora advice, Shawn. What are you going to tell Nora to do? How are you going to bust through this?
So shame, let's just real quick review. Healthy shame is I did something wrong. Toxic shame is I am wrong. Did something bad, I am bad. Okay. So it's this message that you're flawed. And one of the characteristics of having a shame-bound identity is that you didn't get coached. You didn't get equipped with skills on how to think about yourself, how to think about the world, how to understand social engagement, social skills, essentially.
What's normal?
What's normal. And you don't know, so you're kind of left to your own to figure this stuff out. And when we're little, we look to our parents to reflect to us who we are, if we're lovable, likable, what our strengths are and our weaknesses. But if that's not reflected, then we're kind of left to our own devices to imagine how people perceive us and what's happening behind closed doors and what other people are experiencing. So first, I would say that we really want to uncover what is normal, what is the human thing, what can we expect from others. So this attaching quickly we want to target that.
Okay, so
Under,
are you going to tell Nora not to attach quickly? What would your advice be to Nora in particular?
it takes time to assess a relationship. You have the honeymoon period at first where you go, hey, I like this too. I don't like that either. I wanted this dream, I have this dream too. So you start to find that common ground. But then as time goes on, you start to see who this person is when they're tired,
Okay.
when they're stressed.
So you would say, Nora, calm down, honey. Take your time, right? Take your time, Nora. And my advice too is don't start thinking that they're the one, right?
Yes, you're evaluating, you're assessing, like I that looks good. Let's
Yeah.
see. And so over time you start to you can be excited.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
be excited, but make sure you're really clear the difference between the who you are together in this moment
Yeah.
versus the dream you're imagining in your
Yes.
mind.
Yes.
Because yes.
Because,
So they get excited about that dream, right? And
right.
that's what they get attached to. Maybe
Right.
he's the one, maybe. And so it just takes time. So in that way, when you're holding those emotions back and you attached and so quickly, so in your mind you're saying you're this intimate, and yet you're holding back and saying I'm not that intimate. So whenever we contain it, we end up rupturing like a volcano. So what we want to do during that assessment time is show our personality, who we are on a daily basis, not just the appearance management.
You'd say, be authentic, be yourself, Nora. That's what
Yes.
you'd say. Yeah.
And this also brings up another social skill, which is really assessing people's safety. Is this a safe person? Is this person emotionally available? So one way you can tell if someone's safe is, do they mutually disclose? You want to have it mutual. Like, I share this and then I'll share that. And so it's balanced in that way.
Good.
Versus I have all this stuff I'm going to tell you. And a lot of times when we over disclose, we're doing that because we disclose that level of intimacy when we're intimate with people. So it tells our brain that we're intimate, that
That's right.
I shared all this private information with you, so now we are that intimate.
Fantastic.
But not so. Take your time, make sure it's balanced.
So Shawn, I want to summarize what you're saying because it's so important. So for Nora, the message is slow down, be excited about love, but don't get ahead of yourself, right? And
yes.
You also say something that's so crucial that I talk about in dating, which is matching. And matching is exactly that. That I say, like on a level of 1 to 10, let's say even friends or boyfriend or girlfriend, if I'm treating you like a 9 or a 10, like you're my bestie, but you're treating me like a 3, well, we're not matched here. Right? So I'm feeling even more vulnerable because I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve and I'm telling you everything about me and my intimacy, and I'm not getting that back.
Yes.
And so that's not going to be safe.
No. And you want them to be emotionally available too. That's the characteristics of a safe person. So you look at how are they open to emotions? Can they tolerate emotions? Do they share their emotions? And are they there in a supportive way for other people? If they use language like, oh, they're so needy, they're so clingy, they're so dependent, this is a red flag because they're using the language of an avoidant person that says, I can't tolerate the emotional needs of others, so I'm going to pathologize them and say that these normal, healthy, appropriate needs are wrong and bad. And we got to clean that up.
And Shawn, that's fantastic because that's a red flag. Nora, by the way, is attracted to the Ian type, and we're going to talk about Ian and Isabel next.
Yes.
But someone who on some level feels calm to them because they're not as dramatic. But if they're emotionally unavailable, that you could like sell your soul down the river, I hate to say, which just FYI, I did that too. Thinking like my love would be enough, or I could change this person or save them, or if I showed them how safe I was to be vulnerable with, that somehow I could magically create a secure functioning relationship when I was doing all the work.
And that is shame in action, because
Yes,
what the person is believing is, if I can earn their love, then that shows I really am that worthy.
that's the
If they
fantasy.
do, yes, and then I am lovable, I am likable, and that's the problem with chasing down those emotionally unavailable people. They don't meet that job description. They cannot reflect to you your value. Other people cannot reflect to
Yeah,
you your value.
yeah.
It's an inside job.
That's right. Someone just asked about love bombing. That's also what either a narcissist could do, or even a nervous person too, which is I just throw all this love at you. And it feels good and it feels validating, but oftentimes there's an ulterior motive to that too, right?
Yeah, I see that as a warning sign when
Yeah,
people start professing their love
too
and
much.
talking about the dream. It's normally people do that after a significant
That's right.
time when they get to know someone.
Well, the ironic thing is it also doesn't make you feel special, right? It's like,
Mhm.
you don't even know me. And you're like saying we're meant to be and you're going to marry me and I'm the best thing since sliced bread. I'm like, well, do you tell everybody this? Right? It's
Mhm.
different. Timing is so important, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Some people
yes.
believe it though. They
Yeah.
think, "Oh my gosh, he is the one because he's telling me he loves me."
Right.
And they just, it's
Yes.
intoxicating.
Perfect. So let's just keep moving. I
Okay.
want to move on to my next character, which is Isabel. Hi, Isabel. Um, who is Isabel? I call her Independent Isabel or Ian. And I don't like the word avoidant because
Okay.
avoidant is not entirely clear. What the person likes and what they need is to be independent. Why? Because they grew up in a household that did not encourage emotional safety. They got the message, be a big boy or a big girl and rely on no one. They might have
And
gotten
need no one.
That's right, no one. Like they might have gotten their physical needs met, but the family didn't help them learn or understand how to emotionally connect, how to rely on one another. And so therefore their fear, and some of the question tags were fears like choosing the wrong person, fear of getting trapped, fear of conflict. They don't feel like they have a lot of skills in being able to manage these complicated relationship pieces because they didn't learn that in their family.
Hmm. Yeah, or any emotion, that's negative emotion, crying,
That's
sadness.
right.
Hmm.
So that's where they learned the shame of that it's weak, right?
Hmm.
It's somehow
Yeah.
weak to be expressive. I shouldn't have any needs. And if I express my needs, then you might like leave me.
Yeah, then I'm not the responsible adult. I'm not a healthy person. Something's wrong with me. I need to not feel this way. I need to be like, no problem. I don't need you. I've got places to go, people to see. Hmm.
That's right. So I see um and my data, my quiz, it's not been validated, but my data is about 27% of people, slightly more men than women, are this type.
Hmm.
And God knows a lot of Noras, if you're out there, you have been attracted to these types of men, right? The Ian types who appear the kind of cool, calm, and collected, sort of the bad boys, right?
Hmm.
Um, and they're going to be attracted to one another because of opposites, yin and yang, right? That the
Hmm.
Nora is the fun kind of girl that she actually reassures Ian because she tells him how she feels, and so therefore he knows that she likes him, and he
Hmm.
can be kind of reserved and withholding, and he doesn't have to give too much because like Nora's overdoing in some ways.
Hmm.
Someone asked a question, can you be both? I think we can have variations on this, but what I see is it's actually more helpful to see yourself as being more one than the other, because then the treatment is slightly different, and we don't have time to get into all of that, but I
Hmm.
think people have a predominant theme.
Hmm. And Diane, I think this attachment style is idealized by our society as the ideal standard to be. We're told we should be independent, and if
Yes,
we
yes,
need someone, then we're enmeshed. And don't be enmeshed. And this actually was
yep,
a movement in couples therapy in the 90s where they talked about individuating,
yes,
and being your own person, and your problems are not my problems, and you need to take care of yourself first before we're in a relationship.
That's right.
But now we know that the research says that does not work.
No.
We want to promote interdependence, where we need each other, rely on each other. So all of our friends and people are going to say, you should not need, you should be fine being alone by yourself. And this is a disorder right now in our society, I believe.
It kind of reminds me right now what's going around with the whole quarantine too, of this toxic productivity, right?
Yes.
Like, you should do more. I should be learning French right now, or baking bread, or all these other things that I somehow should be this other person who doesn't need anyone, and I should like accomplish these things, which actually drives me crazy.
You shouldn't be distressed if you're not with somebody. You should be comfortable being alone.
What's the big
so
deal?
Shaming.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I see is the person who is the independent type, they have a lot of fears and worries that they don't know how to be different. People like, tell me how you feel. Or they feel like people see them as mysterious. People see them as aloof. And they're saying, well, if I wasn't interested, I wouldn't be here. But they don't know how to like take this from inside and express it. They don't know how to share that because they've not learned it. And then in their mind, it would be weak. So they're in a bind, right?
Yeah, they may not even notice they're feeling something, let alone label it, regulate it, and attend to it.
Yeah. And I'm just to tell people, I'm going to get to the disorganized type in just a minute. But Shawn, help me now bust through shame for independent types. What would your advice be to Isabel? What should she do?
These messages, that crying and feeling vulnerable and feeling a need for someone, we want to rewrite the rules around those and set the new rule that this is not only okay, but it's healthy, and we want to promote it. And so we need to learn what really are the emotional rules or the emotional needs that we have in relationships. They involve comfort me, welcome me, follow my needs, organize my thoughts and feelings. It's really being present, holding space with another person. So I tell people, even though you're uncomfortable with that, it's your shark music, dun dun. Here they come. They want your comfort. They're crying, and you just want to run out that door. Push through it. Push through it.
Shawn, that's great. And I would say to Isabel, like Isabel sometimes has this fear or worry that people are going to like use information against them. I would say, well, what is the evidence that that's true? Because if you risk it and you are so behind the wall and you don't share how you feel, remember with matching, the other person isn't going to feel like you're safe.
No. And I would also say, let people know you're working on that. You know, say, I'm really uncomfortable with these emotions, but I'm learning to work through it. So I might have to take some breaks where I can be with this for a little while, but then I'm going to go and have my break and I can rejuvenate and then come back. Part of that, they're going to take everything from me, is a lack of boundaries. So they're either in it and they just take it and tolerate it, and then they just, boom, I can't do it anymore. But pace yourself there as well. And yes.
That's great advice, because their fear is being engulfed, right? Their fear is losing themselves, losing their independence. Their fear is that I'm going to disappoint you. But they also have this very romantic, idealized notion that like the relationship should be perfect. And
easy.
So therefore, if at the beginning it's not quite right, what's going to happen is they'll think, oh, no, this isn't for me. And they won't even, again, give it a chance.
Yes. Yeah. They think it should be easy. We shouldn't have conflict. People shouldn't complain or bring things to me.
That's right. And someone else in the comments said exactly that's right. So what do? They do what they can do that's self-reliant. They go to work. They're escapists. They need lots of time by themselves. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to go do my own thing. But you now are with another person. You got to communicate that. You got to say, hey, baby, I love you, but I need a little time to myself. And when I come back, we're going to reconnect then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not the other problem. If you're saying people take too much from me, it's really reflecting that you allowed them to take too much because you didn't pace yourself, set boundaries. So people really need to learn how to identify, like, And then, again, this goes with emotional awareness is
That's
of
right.
when I'm overwhelmed, learning that biofeedback, when to recognize when you're feeling
That's right.
overwhelmed and flooded, and that you begin to equip yourself with those
That's
skills
right.
to say, hey, I need a timeout.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And part of this, Shawn, too, is I help to normalize what is a healthy relationship. And if you never learned that or saw that in your parents, it's like you got to give to get. So you've got to
That's right.
understand there is going to be some compromise. I'm
Uh,
sorry, but it's not that I,
yes.
right? It's about negotiation. I mean, to be in
And
any healthy relationship,
mm-hmm.
you both are going to have different needs, and there should be enough time and space for both people to get their needs met with good communication.
And we know that conflict is characteristic of healthy
That's right.
relationships. And so because it's showing that you're attending to things, you're nipping in the bud, you're being proactive.
That's right.
Rather than letting it build up and then
That's right.
becoming a big problem down the road.
That's right. And so someone said in the comments, are they likely to go to therapy? Yes, I have had clients like this, but oftentimes it's after a really painful breakup. Like they don't
Mm-hmm.
come in unless something has happened. And then they're like, wait, I can think of stories where they didn't share how much they loved the person, friends were getting married, they got dumped. Then they came in like, what happened? I'm like, you never really let them know how you felt or how much you loved. So no wonder. And then they're
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, and then they get it. And if timing is right
Yeah.
and they do want a relationship, they are more willing to work on themselves then.
And they really do live in their head, not in their
Yes.
heart space. And so it's really important to find the right match as a therapist, because some therapists are all about heart space and they'll go there quickly and it will really overwhelm somebody
Yeah.
who is feeling this way. So you want to find someone that knows how to
Right.
pace
Too
and
touchy
understands that.
feely. That might be too much for them. I got you.
Yeah,
And, and,
won't like
and
that.
it is a question always of how much should I tolerate? But if a person is so concerned about even being in a monogamous relationship with you and time again, they've told you they're unavailable and they don't want a relationship, be very careful. That's not something that you can work with.
Believe them.
Believe them. They're telling
Believe
you their
them.
truth, right?
Yeah, they say they're not ready. They're not ready,
That's right. And again, let's not get into over fixing or overdoing it or
It's
thinking that
not your job to decide that.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I want to get to Connie. Okay, so I call her confused Connie. This is also Connor. These are the disorganized types. So we know disorganized people, and thank goodness it's a much smaller part of the population. My statistics anywhere about 7%, that they came from mostly abusive homes. And the problem
Trauma.
is trauma. They got so confused because they got two messages. One was come here and two was go away. So I get caught in this message if you're supposed to be protecting me, but you're hurting me and you're abusing me. And so there, talk about confusion. It's like, I'm so disorganized. I don't know who is safe. I don't know where to go. And they're going to have a lot of confusion in relationships because you don't know who, forget monogamy, even you don't even know who's safe and who's going to hurt you.
Love is dangerous.
Love is dangerous. Yes. And so with that message, it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? How do I cope with that kind of shame?
Mm-hmm. And trauma work, they really, because we're dealing with a flight and fight system that is on high drive. And so we really want to work on that and do all that trauma work so they can learn to recognize their body, really learn to calm that nervous system, recognize what their triggers are, really learn about what is safe and not safe.
And boundaries, right?
And boundaries, yes.
Right? Which is, I have to be able to, now if I'm triggered by everything, right? That's kind of, I had a post about like, is it my job to not be triggered or your job not to trigger me?
We're going to get triggered. The difference is how you respond to the triggers. That's what treatment does. It helps us to respond differently to triggers so that we're not hijacked by our triggers and hijacked by our body, but we can be more intentional about how we're going to manage it and direct it. And there are techniques that can really help people to bring that intensity of their triggers much lower at a threshold, and so it's more manageable.
Absolutely. It's about that window of tolerance. It's being able to stay present, but also, and sometimes it's helpful to have a therapist to help you vet partners, right? Because if you don't have a sense of what's safe or what's normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I see this with lots of people, like, oh my God, why does he want to know so much about me? I'm like, that's just normal. These are like normal questions. He's just trying to get to know you. But the person feels so imposed upon, right? You have to help them understand, like, now that you can slow down and think about those questions, how do you want to respond? What information do you want to give? And what information do you want to get back? Right? Like, it's two ways. But you have to, again, soothe yourself first, because if you're going to be in a state of high arousal, then everything looks like a threat.
And unfortunately, we're comfortable with the familiar. And so we unknowingly can gravitate towards people that are characteristically like their abusers. And that's where we have that pattern that just keeps repeating itself. And then we're left to our own logic and say, see, life is unsafe. This is what happens to me, and this is what I can expect. But we want to recognize that, what we're gravitating towards, what are those signs, what are those traits, so that we can change it.
That's right. So lastly, who I want to bring in is Sophia, because she's my rocking girl. She's got her little love shirt on. And Sophia is the role model that we say we can learn from, right? And because she doesn't feel shame about having needs, she unconditionally felt loved and felt safe in relationships. So she's going to be more confident. And if she ran into an Ian, okay, she would say, like, hey, Ian, dude, like, I'm confused. You're showing up and like you treat me like a girlfriend, but then you say you don't want a girlfriend. What gives? And Nora would be like, oh my God, I can't say that. And I'm like, yes, you can. Because part of it is going to be, you're either going to waste your time, which is one of people's big fears or worries, or you're going to call the elephant in the room. And either Ian is going to want to step up or not.
And she's likely to tolerate negative emotions from other people, that if other people are angry with her or sad or frustrated, she's okay with that. She's learned that it's okay if you're angry with me. It's okay if you're frustrated with me, disappointed. I'll still be all right, and we can still work it out. So they might have a higher tolerance for conflict or tending to the relationship. And that might be confusing for other people who are used to having physical validation, that because I wasn't in a world where people actually validated me, I had to see you feel my feelings in order for me to be validated. So they're going to want to evoke that in her, but she's going, what are you doing? Like, I get that, and it's okay, and we can attend to it.
So my whole point is, what can we learn from Sophia? Well, we can learn to calm ourselves down like Sophia, because she's not in fight or flight mode. She's got a calmer nervous system. That goes back to meditation. That goes back to breathing. That goes back to exercise, right? If we can lower that, what we call our allostatic kind of load, like being in this revving, anxious place, then that's going to help us think more clearly, right? And then if I'm thinking more clearly, then I can act with confidence. And I can have the conversations that need to be had, because also Sophia doesn't take it personally. It's not like I'm attracting a bunch of losers. She just thinks there's some people out there who aren't ready or who I'm not a fit for.
And that's a skill, to not take things personally.
Yes, it
when
is.
When shame says take it personal. That's but right. She's learned that where she stops and other people start, and that they do not reflect her, and she's got that clarity inside her.
That's right. So what we can learn from Sophia about not having shame is that when you are, again, a confident person and you're not getting triggered, then you can not be doing cartwheels and working so hard to try to please this other person. You just get to what would be the conclusion quicker.
Mm-hmm. And I would say she would have shame. Everybody has shame. The difference is how she responds to it. So when she does feel that, oh no, I'm not good enough and I'm being rejected, she can assess that and go, okay, what part is this mine? What part of it isn't? What can I change and control? And she'll do it. What can't I? She might radically accept it. So she weathers the storm more effectively.
That's right.
And that's really what our goal is. Not to eliminate shame because it's just a part of our human emotion, but weathering it differently.
Right. And somebody said, not everybody is for me, and that's okay. And thank God I finally got to that point. And I think the other thing that I try to inspire people is that if you're doing the work and you're working on yourself, by the time I had gotten to the point that I eventually met my husband, I just knew it in my bones that I was a good person. I just knew that I had so much to offer and that it was just going to be a matter of time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came from that place of confidence and strength, then I wasn't so easily kind of rocked by everybody else.
Yes, that is a big turning point when we stop going from an external perspective of having the world tell us we're okay or who we are, to really going within and evaluating that yourself in a very objective way. Am I kind? Do I really try to make a positive difference? Am I living according to my ethics and my values? And if the answer is yes, and okay. But if other people are saying, no, you're not, but you know you are, that's your truth.
That's right.
And so you have that, you know that you know that you know who you are.
That's right. I love you, but I love me more.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, because in the end, even if I have to suffer some short-term pain, and oh God knows I had a lot of that, right? I had self-respect that I knew that I was going to be bargaining to get something in the short term. But if that wasn't going to be something for me in the long term, I have to have a short game and a long game, right? I have to be able to see, are we a good team? How are we together? Even if I get you to marry me, but there are so many triggers and you're going to be triggering me, that's going to be a bad relationship for you. If this person, if you have a lot of emotional needs and you're with a partner who doesn't validate you, that's a long life of discomfort.
And that love comment, I would even reframe it to say, I love you. And at the same time, I'm a very good parent to myself. And I take care of myself, and I will be a good steward of myself, so to speak. So I attend to my needs. I'm proactive. Not only do I take care of my needs in the moment, but I also take care of my needs in the big picture. And I take great responsibility to tend to my past self, my present self, and my future self. Whether you are doing this for me or not, this is my job. Nobody else's job is my job to make sure I'm tending and taking care of myself like a loving parent. And at the same time, I love you.
Oh, Shawn, that is so lovely. I want to write that down. That, you got to make that a post, right? I am a steward to myself. I love me. I'm going to take care of my myself. And people want you to write that as a script. And then use that. I mean, what confidence.
Yes. This is a loving parent. A loving parent is looking at their child in the moment. What does my child need today? But they're also anticipating the future. They're saying, they're going to have these expenses in the future. So I'm going to set money aside. They're going to need their immune system supported. So I'll make sure they have good nutrition. They need to have their dreams supported. So how can I do that? So they're balancing in this way of tending now and in the future. But if we didn't have that, we feel that my needs are not going to be taken care of unless somebody outside does it. But in an ideal situation, we receive that kind of parenting, so then we grow up and we do that for ourselves. This is what the therapeutic journey is that we now stop abandoning ourselves,
Yep.
stop betraying our own needs when our needs say, this hurts me, I'm not okay. And your inner critic says, well, tough, we need to have a guy, and if you keep at it, we're not going to find anyone. This is going to give a person a chronic feeling of abandonment.
That's
and
right.
what I find in my work with people is that once they stop betraying themselves, and they begin to attend to themselves, make the choice. Not a lot of times people wait till they feel like they love themselves. It's
That's
not,
right.
don't wait, make the choice.
That's right.
And then you take care of yourself. You say, you know what, if you're sad, this is important and we need to figure this out.
That's right.
If you have this need, we need to figure this out. So when you start showing up for yourself,
that's right.
All of a sudden that feeling of abandonment and fear of abandonment kind of dissipates. And people go, I'm not so scared of that anymore.
Shawn, I had written another post, I think it was this week, exactly that, which I distrust other people. And part of the insecure dynamic in attachment theory is that I distrust other people because I don't really completely trust myself. And to re-own that, if I make a commitment to myself, I need to follow up on that commitment, because then back to what you're saying is I honor myself, I appreciate my feelings, I feel my feelings, and I'm not going to let society or other people tell me, because I'm so attuned to myself.
Yes, and attuned to,
yes,
to your intuition and your nudges. And people get really confused between my feelings and emotions and your nudges inside. That little voice inside that goes, like you need to listen to that. And if you don't, inside they're going to go, girlfriend, I can't trust you. You're going to, like, I'm telling you, I'm giving you it in your dreams. I'm giving you in your panic attacks. I'm giving you in your intrusive thoughts saying stop, and you keep ignoring me. So those are the things you want to listen, the calm voice inside.
And so often the fact that we even ask the question, the answer is there, right? I mean, people will ask me these questions about this guy, and I'm like, you know the answer.
They just don't like the answer. I know, and it's so disappointing.
I know. It's going to...
In the moment.
Right.
But not in the big picture. That's what they have to remember. In the moment, it's disappointing. But when you say no to this moment of what's not going to work, you're saying yes to the future, what's going to work.
Right. So I want to frame this out just a little bit here, because what I'm seeing is that right now with COVID-19 going on and the quarantine's not over, is that it's actually bringing a lot of clarity for people. While of course it feels like a crisis and one of love, like, oh my God, I'm literally, someone said, like, my eggs are, frying, right? Like, oh my God, I'm going to miss out on this chance. But I think what's the perfect time right now is to get really clear on what's important to you. And you've got to make a commitment to yourself. I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I came to the point where I said, I have this pattern of being attracted to Ians, and for whatever, I would get all juiced up about them. And the last one, I said, no more. I'm done. That's it. This is not working for me.
Yes. I heard someone say once, so they go in a room full of 500 men. They would find that one alcoholic because they were from an alcoholic background, right? So when I heard that, I'm going to talk about friendships here, but I recognized that I had a history of finding friends that were emotionally unavailable. So I said to myself, whoever I'm drawn to, when I go in a room, whoever I'm drawn to, I'm not going to talk to those people. I'm going to go to the one I'm not drawn to, and I'm going to discover, who are they? Who's the one that I wouldn't normally walk up to or get to know? And when I began to make that shift and challenge myself, I started to meet the highest quality of people that were emotionally available to me. But I literally had to do an opposite action.
That's right.
Opposite. Who I'm going to, don't. Go to the opposite who I'm not, and learn and be open to that.
Shawn, but what the crazy thing is here too, and I tell people that you got to get used to that, sometimes feels a little boring, right? So the problem is, like, I meet these like nice, secure guys, but they don't, like, I don't know, there's something about it, like, it's not so juicy, because back to my old history, my pattern is that I had a parent who was unavailable, and I got used to the pattern of working hard to get you to notice me.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So the
Yes.
hook, as you're saying, like you could say, I intentionally don't want to go towards those people, but we got to be in our conscious awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
To break that pattern, because we know where that's going to take us.
Yes. And a lot, what kind of goes with that territory with people who are avoidant and moving in that way, they do a lot of fun things. Like they're out doing parties and they're out doing adventures and traveling the world and things that looks like, wow, that's amazing. Like you're going and going but they're not as grounded. And so yes, it can
Yeah.
be, it
You know,
cannot be
the
boring.
one piece of advice that I would give too, and I knew that my husband was different, and even though he has I mean, his family, I don't want to say it, but he's got a little bit of Ian in him, but he's mostly a secure person. I had to notice that what was different for me is that what the Nora does is you keep chasing after this amazing beginning, right? Like when the man's really pursuing you hot and heavy, and that's what you get. We learn this from society, that love is like the Notebook, and he should build me a house, and he should like write me letters every day. And when the guy's not doing that, we're like, this isn't enough. He doesn't like me. But secure
Right.
functioning guys don't pursue like that.
Mm-hmm.
Secure functioning
Yes.
guys who feel confident don't need to bring it like that. So that's
Right.
why it feels a little bit boring. But it was the first time in my life that I felt like it was a relationship that got better over time, instead of me trying to chase the beginning.
You look for the ingredients. Do they have
That's right.
ingredients that
That's
we
right.
can build a
Right.
relationship from there?
Right.
I had someone say in China, they have a saying that if you start with a big fire, it dies out. But if you start with a little fire, it grows into a big
Ooh.
fire. And that's what I strive for. My husband and I have been friends for 35 years, married for 25 years. And when I selected him, I knew that together we made each other better. We were best friends.
Yeah.
But I was a little worried because I wasn't infatuated. I have butterflies in my stomach. I knew him for so long, but I knew that we could build something really well
That's right.
together, and
That's right.
that we did.
And so what I have to say is, it's not, what happens is you have to get used to, not used to the drama in the relationship, but there's excitement in the person. And when we're not responding to the drama, then what else is
Yeah.
there? The person's interest, creating interest
Mm-hmm.
together. That's what creates the excitement, but not the
Yes.
chase.
Yeah.
Not
We
the
want
not
to be
where we
crock
stand.
pots, not
Yeah,
microwaves.
there you go.
Yeah.
I love
Let
it.
it be a crock pot meal,
Yes.
not a microwave meal.
And yes, there are secure functioning people who are exciting. Now, of course, you
Yes.
have to be attracted to them too, but you have to redefine what attraction is. And if
Mm-hmm.
unconsciously I think that working so hard to get you to notice me is attraction, then we got to shift that dynamic. And we do have to get rid of these rom-coms. But like, who wants to see boring? I'm sorry, right?
Right, right. In secure attachment, love is not earned. It just is. So
Yes,
you don't have to do all
that's right.
these things to earn.
That's
But
right.
if that is something you'd like, you could advocate in the relationship. Say, hey, this
That's
is
right.
something important to
That's right.
me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Shawn, before we run out of time,
Yes.
you're going to save this where? Tell people where they can get a copy of this.
Yes. So I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel,
Perfect.
and I might upload it to my Inspired Living podcast.
Okay.
So I will have it in either one of those or both available.
So ladies, my advice to you is, there are super boring guys out there. Yes, there are. Open your mind to them. Now is the time, which I kind of call this like the Tinder sit out. If I could have crafted this, like, it's actually good to have a Tinder sit out, which is like, if we can't just hook up with people physically, we got to look at the rest of it. And this is a time to actually start having really good conversations. This is a time, lots of people are online. Don't lose hope. The only person who doesn't get there is that person who quits.
That's right.
Right?
Yes, that's
Failure
right.
is not an option. You got it. If this is important to you, go do it. But set some time aside. It's important. Invest in it. You have to invest in people and do the best you can to not get overly attached too quickly. And then keep saying, I like this person, but we'll see. Because that's what Sophia would say.
And I would say guard from imagining what people's relationships are like when you see people go, oh my gosh, they're so amazing. We don't know what's happening behind closed doors. And so we don't want to tell ourselves that we're different than other people. Being in relationships is wonderful and it's challenging at the same
Yes,
time. And so we just want to take that I'm not good enough out of it and know that this is a very, very common struggle that we hear all the
that's right.
time. And it's healthy and it's normal and it's appropriate to desire to be in a
Yeah,
relationship.
that's
We
right.
want you to be in a relationship. We want you to be interdependent. So be patient with the process, but stay in the game and keep going and get the support you need to help you think through it, because we can't be left to our own devices and make sense of all this.
Shawn, this is so beautiful. Thank you so much. It's about loving yourself,
Thank you.
looking for
Yes,
that right person. It's a human need that we all have to connect, to get rid of these shame messages oftentimes that we get from society or our family, and keep doing the work. And the more grounded and authentic you are, you're going to find more authentic love too. I'm going to end
that's
this
right.
so that way I don't lose it.
Okay.
And
Yes.
everyone,
Thank you,
keep in touch with
Diane.
Shawn. And I want you to write that script because I need to make that a post and then I need to make it available to people.
Okay. Thank you
Shawn, my
so much.
friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.